All right, let's get into it. Today, we're building a playbook for global strategy. The world of international business feels more chaotic than ever, right? So we're going to unpack the essential frameworks and mental models you absolutely need to not just compete, but to really truly win on the global stage.
And you just have to start with this classic Mike Tyson quote. I mean, it perfectly captures the whole challenge of strategy, doesn't it? A plan is just a piece of paper until it collides with reality. That punch he's talking about, that's the unpredictable, messy, external world. Our job today is to figure out how to see that punch coming.
So, first things first, the very first thing you have to wrap your head around is that the old economic map you learned in school is probably obsolete. The world has been fundamentally redrawn over the last few decades, and the old centers of gravity, they've shifted dramatically.
And look at this chart. Wow, this shows the massive tectonic shift we're talking about. In just 3 decades, the emerging markets, those orange bars, have surged to rival the traditional advanced economies. This isn't just some passing trend. It's a fundamental rebalancing of global economic power. The future of growth? It's sitting right there in orange.
So, what's the actual difference, strategically speaking? Well, think of it this way. Advanced economies are kind of like mature, stable, service-based markets. Emerging markets are the total opposite. They are defined by explosive industrial growth and, crucially, a rising middle class. This is where you'll find the biggest opportunities for sure, but also the most volatile risks.
Okay, so knowing where the growth is happening is one thing, but how do you actually understand the risks and, the rules of the game in these new territories? You can't just go in blind. You need a system. You need a way to scan the horizon.
And that system is a fantastic framework called PESTLE. It's an acronym for the 6 big external forces that can completely derail your strategy: political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And look, this is way more than a simple checklist. It is your essential diagnostic tool. So here's the key, right? PESTLE is your strategic radar. It helps you spot those punches we talked about way before they land. A sudden trade war? That's political. A huge shift in consumer values? That's social. A disruptive new invention that changes everything? Technological. PESTLE is how you avoid getting completely blindsided by what's happening outside your company's 4 walls. Okay, so you've done your homework. You've scanned a promising market with your PESTLE radar, and it looks good. Now you're facing the next huge question. How do you actually enter? Do you just dip a toe in the water, or do you dive in head first?
Well, the Uppsala model gives us one answer. Take it slow. It frames global expansion not as one big risky leap, but as a learning journey. You start small, maybe in a market that's culturally similar. You learn the ropes, and you only commit more resources as your knowledge and your confidence grow. It's the cautious, learn-as-you-go strategy.
But then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the OLI framework. This is a much more hard-nosed, analytical model for making the biggest commitment of all: foreign direct investment, or FDI. It basically argues that putting major capital on the ground only makes sense if a very specific trifecta of advantages lines up perfectly.
So what's this trifecta? First, O is for ownership. You have to have some kind of unique competitive advantage, a technology, a brand, a patent that others just don't have. Second, L for location. The target market itself has to offer a unique advantage, like cheaper labor or access to specific resources. And third, I for internalization. It has to be more efficient for you to do it yourself, rather than just, say, licensing your tech to someone else. Only if all 3 of those things are true does FDI actually make economic sense.
So you're in. You've entered the market. Now comes the most important part of all. How do you create and, more importantly, capture value? Because it turns out that where you choose to play in the whole production process matters more now than ever before.
And this brings us to one of the most powerful, most important concepts in modern strategy: the smile curve. It reveals a really profound truth. We used to think that making things, manufacturing, created the most value. But the smile curve shows that in today's economy, value is highest at the 2 ends, at the beginning with R&D and design, and at the end with marketing and brand. The middle, just simple production, that's where value completely craters.
And this low-value middle, this dip in the smile, it has a name: the commoditization trap. This is the dangerous space where products become standardized, competition is absolutely fierce, and your profit margins get relentlessly squeezed down to almost nothing. Getting stuck here is a recipe for strategic failure.
So why does this trap even exist? Well, there are 3 powerful forces at work, pushing value down. First, standardization. It means your product is easily copied. Second, global competition. Someone, somewhere in the world, can probably do it cheaper. And third,
Automation. It just keeps lowering the barrier to entry. These forces combine to create this brutal, low-margin environment right in the trough of the smile.
So, how do you escape the trap? It's actually pretty simple in concept. You live on the peaks. On the left peak, you create value through the idea itself, the intellectual property. And on the right peak, you create value through the customer relationship, the brand, and the network. You stay out of the middle.
Let's be super clear about this. The left peak is where you generate value from the scarcity of innovation. It's about creating something new that nobody else can. Think patents, proprietary designs, unique R&D. The right peak? That's where you generate value through relationships. It's about building a brand people love and trust, providing amazing service, and creating an ecosystem that locks customers in. See what's missing? Just making the
So let's pull all this together. What is the single, overarching strategic imperative for pretty much any global business today?
This slide just synthesizes it all beautifully. The value chain is really a journey from one intangible thing, creation, an idea, to another intangible thing, connection, a relationship. The middle part, the execution, the physical product itself, it's just the tangible bridge between these two incredibly high-value zones.
This means your strategy has to be a deliberate, conscious move away from the middle and up the curve toward those valuable edges. You have to actively invest in owning the intellectual property on the left and owning the customer relationship on the right, or ideally both.
And here it is. This is the single most important takeaway from our whole discussion. The physical product is just a vessel. The real, defensible, high-margin value lies in the intangibles, the invention that conceived it, and the brand that delivers it. That is the new logic of the global economy.
Which leaves us with one final, critical question to ask yourself, your team, or your entire company. When you really look at where you invest your time, your talent, and your money, ask yourself this: is your strategy built for the trough, or is it built for the peaks?